Cheerio. I'm just noticing that my eyebrows are really rough today. Sorry about that. So, I really want to talk about Princess Diana. She was killed because of a drunk driver. Henri Paul. His blood alcohol level, if I correct, I didn't look it up, I could have, was a .26. She died in 1997. So, what's that, 28 years ago? I think it's comical when one of her sons makes comments about people making money. People are making money off of me mom, yet he's doing it. Isn't he getting to do a 30th anniversary thing? Although he and his brother, the future king, and his brother's wife will be the future queen, Catherine, they did a 20-year anniversary of her death, and both agreed at that time that this subject would be closed. However, Harry met a woman who had no talent, spent 25 years in Hollywood. They rejected her for 25 years. And she had landed a role. She was being cut from that job. It was a television show on a channel none of us had ever heard of. But she was being cut from that job. And so she was 30-something. She's too old for Hollywood at this point. They didn't want her for 25 years. They definitely don't want her now. So she had to find a rich man to make her famous, and she found Harry. I believe had Harry's mother been alive, this whole Meghan thing would never have ever happened. Anyway, so Diana was 1997. She was in the back seat of an automobile, a Mercedes, not wearing a seatbelt. I will say that back then, seatbelts in the back seat weren't as popular. I'm not even sure if the cars were required to have them. Obviously they did. I'm going to guess they probably weren't shoulder belts at that time. I have no idea, just guessing. France has they do things differently at the scene of an accident. In America, they pull you out of the car. If one of your arms has been amputated, they pick the arm up and they take all of your pieces to the hospital and then try to put you together with the hospital. You know, I'm seeing that fan is in the background. Excuse me for a moment while I move that. Anyway, in France, they do not do that. They stabilize you at the scene, and then they take you to the hospital. And many people think, but of course, nobody knows for real, that had they taken her directly to the hospital, it is quite likely she would have lived. We have no idea. Had she been wearing her seatbelt, she probably would have walked away from the accident without a scratch even. A couple of things. She was dating Dodi to make the doctor jealous. She had been with a doctor for 3 years. I think he was a Pakistani doctor. And she loved him. And he loved her. But he didn't want the fame of her life. And he told her, I love you. You'll always be the greatest woman ever for me. But, you know, I don't want all the nonsense that comes with you. And so she went, hooked up with Dodi. You remember that summer? They were on, multi-million-dollar yachts. And that summer was the first time ever she's wearing bathing suits, standing there, doing everything she can to have her photo taken. She's making out with Dodi, having those photos taken, whereas she had never, ever done that before. And, of course, Diana did have a little bit of class. You never see her in a bikini. I don't believe women over the age of, about 30 should be in bikinis in public. I just wish women would put more clothing on these days. They wonder why men don't respect women as much, but then they walk around nude, and they have OnlyFans accounts, and they can't figure out why they can't find a good man. I wonder. But, so Diana was 100% using Dodi. Diana had, on her own choice, dropped her royal protection. You remember why? Because Martin Bashir from the BBC made fake documents showing Diana, the royal family, was following her around. They were tapping her phone calls, reading her mail, which they were doing no such thing. But so she dropped her royal protection because of that. Had her royal protection been working that Saturday evening, none of this would have happened. They wouldn't have allowed her to get in the car with old drunk Henri Paul. Now, on a side note, it was a Saturday night, I was going to say here in America, but I guess it was a Saturday night in France also. And my husband and I had been out, and we got home right during Saturday Night Live. And our TV was on because, the dog was home. And, we walk in, and right away I see this Princess Diana dead. And it would have been a terrible skit, but I thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit. I mean, I honestly did. Just took a few minutes until I figured it out. Of course, I started sobbing like I'd known her and she'd been my best friend for 10 years. Another quick side note. So her funeral was the next week. And we lived in an apartment at the time. And I set my alarm and I, closed the bedroom door and I went out to the living room and I'm watching the funeral. And again, I'm sobbing as if I'd known this woman for 10 years of my life. And my husband opens the door and he said, "Are you okay?" And I just went, "The funeral." And he turned around and slammed the bedroom door as hard as he could. Just like, "You're an idiot." Well, yes, I was an idiot. I still am a little bit at this time. Okay, so in 1980, there was an organization named MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I am 54. I'll be 55 next month. If you're around my age, MAD was everywhere. The billboards, everything you went home from school, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It was everywhere. I never see it now. Well, that organization was created by a woman named Candy Lightner. Her 13-year-old daughter had been killed by a drunk driver. 1980. It was in California. The man who killed the girl had, I think, 2 or 3 previous DWIs. His driving record was the size of Wendy Adelson's divorce record. Had no other real criminal record, no robberies or anything. He was sentenced to, 2 years in jail. Well, I guess prison. Well, he ended up going to a work camp. He was released on the weekends. So at Friday evenings at 6 p.m., he goes to the door and the jail lets him out. And of course, he goes to the parking lot, right? Someone's going to pick him up, right? No. He walked to the parking lot because that's where his car was parked. He would get in his car, do whatever he wanted, and then Sunday night at 8 p.m., he had to return to the work camp. So Sunday night, he drove back, parked his cars, put his keys in his pocket, I assume, and then went back and spent a week, 5 days in a work camp. What a bummer of a punishment, my goodness. So just some other notable people who have died because of drunk drivers. Sam Kinison, I don't know if you remember him. He was a comedian. Every other word out of his mouth was the F word. You had to bleep him all the time. He was okay, funny. I don't know that I didn't dig him so much, possibly because of the language. And I wasn't a prude back then the way I am now. But I just didn't like it. Well, he died in 1992. He was driving either from Los Angeles to Las Vegas or the other way around. And he was hit head-on by a drunk driver. I do remember that one clearly. This Nick Aidenhart, he died. I wrote it down. Oh, in 2009. I don't know if any of you guys will remember him. But he was a pitcher for the Angels. He was 22 years old when he was killed. And then my other guy I have on the list is Jerry Brown Jr., and I'm pretty sure none of you will know him. He was a linebacker for the Cowboys. And, I'm a Cowboys fan. My name is Meredith, after Dandy Don Meredith. But he was in the car with one of his teammates. Did I write his teammate's name down? No, I didn't. And they wrecked, of course. The teammate was not hurt. The teammate was a little bit, halfway, seriously injured. That was 2012. So you think, what did the Cowboys do immediately? Well, they cut him from the team, right? No, they didn't. They let him heal. He would have missed the following season anyway. And then they allowed him to come back and officially retire. Great. Jerry Jones has a lot of class, doesn't he? The Cowboys were so much better when, what was his name? Clint Munchinson, I'm sure it's not Clint Hutchinson, owned the team. Okay, well, I'm going to shut this down. If you're still watching right now, I'm shocked. Tell me how you found out about Princess Diana's death. And God bless you, and God bless us, America. Toodaloo.